Okay, let's give this another shot here. So today what I want to give you or shoot a quick video on is how to make an offer on a property when the numbers don't make sense. And you see this a lot in value add properties where call it the trailing 12, the last 12 months of net income, revenue minus expenses don't make any sense. And when I say they don't make any sense, it could be because the vacancy is really much higher than it should be. It could be a mismanaged property. It could be a situation where the expenses are far too high, given that location of the property and what you know. So we're just going to make the assumption that the revenue is not where it should be, and that's where the opportunity is. Now, if you make an offer on a property based on the income that the seller is giving you, then it's unlikely that, especially if it's in a great location in a major metro, that the seller is even going to respond. So what I suggested to this lady that's looking at this is, number one, this is an apartment building. So I said, what are the price per door, meaning how much are these apartment units selling for on a per door basis? So that's question number one. That will give you some estimation based on the value of the properties in that area. Number two, because I just wrote it out here and I'm standing outside. Like, look at that. That's amazing. I'm going to be skiing here in a couple minutes. Here, just give me a second. I'm just going to do this. Okay, I said, what are the rents in that location? Are they significantly under market? Can you push the rents? Is that where the opportunity is? What kind of CapEx? CapEx is like capital expenditures, meaning if you buy this property, do you have to replace a roof? Do you have to, is the mechanical okay? What's the parking lot like? What's the exterior, the windows? Essentially, investments into the property that are not going to necessarily, that are just required in order to maintain the property. That would be different than, say, renovating, where you're actually going to improve the property to increase the rents. Next question I asked is, what's the debt on the property? Sometimes these deals are, like right now, I'm looking at a property right now that would be a tremendous opportunity, but the debt is very unfavorable. So that's my biggest challenge, is how do I structure that debt so that it makes sense for me and my investors? What else do I want to talk about here? I think once you've got an understanding of the situation today on the property, and then what I always like to do is talk to a property manager and verify my assumptions to make sure that if I believe I can push the rents, how long is that going to take, and how far can I push the rents, and what is going to be required in order to push those rents, because that's typically where you're going to find most of the value add. And you know, the belief that or the assumption I made, if you will, because I only had like a 2-paragraph question from this lady, so I didn't have all the details. I would go much deeper if this was a client of mine, but this is just a lady that was looking for some help. And the assumption I made is that she likes the property, she likes the location, she believes that she can turn it around. And if those all line up, then in my mind, I wouldn't be necessarily, of course, looking at the trailing 12, the last 2 or even 3 years, how the property's performed. Those are all important. However, I wouldn't let that dictate, because let's say, I mean, I'll give you an example. The property I'm looking at right now, if I was to make an offer on it, based on the income, the net operating income that the property is generating, and that's just the revenue minus expenses, then I would be offering like $55,000 a door, and the seller would laugh at me. And so and frankly, if I was the seller, I wouldn't be looking at that type of an offer either, because in probably 6 to 9 months, the property is going to be worth probably closer to 95 a door. So, so there's a balance and a healthy negotiation that goes on to make sure that the number that I make, the number I'm offering, makes enough sense to the seller, but also gives me enough upside to justify my work. So I hope that all makes sense. If you have any questions, I'm going to be doing these kind of Q&As, hopefully on a daily basis. That's my objective, and they'll be much shorter. Obviously, we'll continue with the podcast, and yeah, like I said, if you have any questions specific to a deal, whether you're buying or selling, by all means, let me know, and I'll do my best to answer it here. Okay, that's it for now. I got to get out there. Bye.